Hello, hello. Welcome to the Empowered Empath. Today we are talking about judgment and specifically this idea of letting other people judge you and why it's such an important idea to look at and unpack. So let's unpack it together. It's one that is very near and dear to my heart, you might say, which sounds kind of strange, just because I've battled with um, being so afraid of other people's judgment my whole fucking life. And I bet you can relate because you are also a human on the planet. And what I find hilarious is that this subject is like stupidly taboo. It's like, you guys, it's like part of our DNA. It's literally wired into us for survival so that thousands of years ago when we lived in tribes, if we were judged by the tribe, we could be kicked out and literally die. So it's in our human mechanism for a reason. It's there to keep us safe. Just like if you go back a couple episodes to the one about every human has this mental disorder, and I put a hyphen there specifically to make it different than like the I'm slipping over my words, but you know what I mean. I'm not trying to diagnose a mental disorder. I'm playing with the word. So jumping back to this conversation, we literally have it wired in our DNA to fucking care about what other people think about us. Okay, but you guys, I'm recording this in my living room. I'm not, sitting in a tree or a hut. I actually haven't done research on what human civilization was like thousands of years ago, but I'm not running from a tiger. I am not foraging for food to survive. My survival does not depend on whether you like me or not. Like, that is so important to really like take a breath and acknowledge, like were you taught that in high school? No, you weren't. So this program well, actually, I don't know if you were or not, but if you went to public school, I'm guessing probably not. So this is a program that has just unconsciously driven most of us humans for our whole lives. And obviously it's been part of the whole outdated program of people pleasing, the outdated program of codependency, all of that stuff, right? So here's the thing. It is not your fault or my fault that this program, aka a belief system, exists in our mind, has been passed down through our culture, family lineage, DNA. It's not our fault. However, it is our responsibility to reprogram that piece if we want to live a life that is more in line with our authenticity, our originality, that is more aligned with the truly unique version of ourselves that is a fucking gift, not just to those who are around us, not just to, our family and our friends and our community, but the gift of living a life that feels truly authentic. Like, that is such a subjective experience. There's no 5-step formula for that. And yet it is, in my opinion, one of the most satisfying, gratifying, fulfilling, and fucking priceless experiences is to live a life according to your own authenticity. So, okay, let's get into it more. What's funny is that the irony of letting someone judge me or not isn't actually real, because they're going to just judge me. I actually have no control over whether someone judges me or not. But letting someone literally in my mind saying, Yes, I am letting them, if they choose to, I'm going to allow them to. It is for me. It is just like forgiveness in that way. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is literally you lightening your own load. Forgiveness is truly letting go of a burden, letting go of an energetic burden that you no longer want to carry. That's forgiveness. This is the same thing. Letting someone judge you is literally just um, lightening your load. That's it. And then what's funny is like, then it's like, okay, well, how do we do that? Okay, first, before we get into the how, I want to say this one important piece, which is every time that you get scared of someone else judging you, and and can we just normalize that this happens all the time? I'm constantly transmuting this within my own life. Like I completely, like, we're normalizing the fuck out of this. We're sitting down. We're getting down and dirty. We're taking the taboo out of something that is very fucking human, and we are gathering as a community to talk about this vulnerable experience that can create so much anxiety, insecurity, feelings of being unlovable. Like, this is a very real topic, that's very fluid and very seemingly abstract, but like it has unconsciously ruled so many of our lives for so long. So I I I let's see, how do I want to say this? The human condition, in my opinion, is a spectrum of experience. So the quote getting there, getting to a place, is, I mean, I know this sounds so corny, but it is a journey. So getting to the place where I truly do not care what you or my husband or my children or my best friend or the checkout person at the grocery store thinks of me is a process. And every time, I'll just use myself as an example. Every time I am out in my life, out in my world, in my home, and I come up to the fear, the internalized fear of, oh no, they're going to judge me. I know for certain that they are mirroring back an internalized program, an internalized belief system that I have. It actually has nothing to do with them. So if we can just pause for a second and recognize what value there is in coming and stumbling across this annoying ass thing that we happen upon on a random Thursday. What a fucking gift. What a fucking gift. Oh my God. It's such a gift, because when they reflect it back to us, we can see what is actually going on in our minds. It's like that. It's like when you're driving and your partner is like holding their phone, like right at the time of day when the sun is so bright, and they happen to like turn it towards you and it blinds you in the eye, and you're like so annoyed. You're like, move your phone away. It's like that. It's like that. So it's like, okay, can you move your phone away? So then they move their phone away. So for this thing, it's not, oh, let me turn away from this, because if we turn away from this bright, annoying light reflected back to us, we're not going to give ourselves the opportunity to alchemize it. So if you don't want that internalized belief system of self-judgment running in the background of your mind, then every time it's reflected to you, you actually can say, oh my God, thank you. It's like someone is reflecting back to you that you've got spinach in your teeth. So the thing that I think is so fascinating about other people reflecting these internal belief systems back to us is that if you are a person who believes you believe in not putting other people down, and you believe in not putting yourself down consciously, this is actually a sign that you have unconsciously violated your own boundary, because it is showing you where you are unconsciously putting yourself down. You're just unconsciously walking around with spinach in your teeth. Now, if you don't mind walking around with spinach in your teeth, then it's fine. If you don't mind walking around with an internal judgment system putting you down, then it's fine. But if you're listening to this, I want to bet that you're not about that. You don't want to do that anymore. You want to bring your light of consciousness to it, and you want to transmute it. So I think that's the first piece of this is really recognizing that it's you and it's me. It's not about the other person. It's really not. It's about our own projection, and anything that we project, anything that we are in, anything that we have internalized, different ways of seeing reality that we have internalized. Oh my God, I have this thought and then it just like poof went away. I'm talking about projection, different ways that we have internalized. Okay, the ways, the thoughts, the unconscious thoughts that we have swimming in the background of our mind is how we are going to read our reality. It's how we're going to read other people. So this goes two ways, right? When you catch yourself judging someone else, aka putting them down from the inner critic, it's okay. We're all human. We've all done it a million times. Just pause and become the compassionate observer. Yes, you can be two things at one time because you're an infinite being with many dimensions. So pause, and with the dimension of yourself that is the compassionate observer, watch yourself judging the other person. This is what I call the ugly work. I feel like I've talked about it on this podcast before. I know I've talked about it online before. I kind of feel like I should talk about it more and more because it's so important in everything, in up-leveling and healing our relationships. Like, ugly work is always going to be with us. Why? Because our shadow is always going to be with us. So just getting really comfortable with the ugly work, with the shadow work is huge. It's so huge. It's like when we are walking down the street and it's 2 p.m. and we see our shadow, we don't freak out. We just go, "Oh, that's our shadow because the sun is over there." We don't freak out about it. Same thing with ugly work. When you see yourself doing something that you deem quote ugly, like it's a shadow piece and you're acting on it, you go, "Oh, I'm doing that because I'm thinking this." Okay, good to know. That's it. That's it. Don't make it a big thing. Okay. Let's see. There's something else I wanted to say. Okay, this is what I want to say. So how? Okay, this is all well and good, but how do we let other people judge us? Wait, should we jump to how? First, we might want to go to why. Why do we want to let other people judge us? Actually, I just realized I covered that in the beginning. Because it's fucking freeing. Because it frees us. That's why. Right? Because it doesn't feel good to be judged. Oh, here's the other thing about judgment, which I think is fascinating. I once heard a coach say this to me, and it just blew my mind. She said, judgment actually is not a feeling. It's an action. And I was like, what? Feeling judged isn't a feeling? Judging isn't a feeling? No, it's not. It's an action. It's basically the inner critic doing a put down, making a put down. It's an active thought that then leads to a feeling. So for example, let's say that I am looking at somebody across the room and I'm thinking, wait, no, I should turn it around so I can share what it would be like from my end. Okay, I'm afraid. I should have done this written this example down before. If I'm afraid that someone is going to think that what I'm wearing is not cool. That's the thought, right? Like they're going to think I'm not cool. That's the judgment. What's the feeling? The feeling is maybe it's insecure. Maybe it's insignificant. Maybe it's unlovable. Maybe it's embarrassed. Do you see what I'm getting at? These are the feelings of the judgment. So we always go back to feelings here, right? Um, that's where our work is. So the work is noticing where the interpretation is, yes, but then the alchemical work is allowing the vibration of the emotion to literally ripple through our body as if I were dropping a pebble in a pond and the ripple had its experience and then the pond became clear again. And it takes about 90 seconds for an emotion as a vibration, as a bright vibrational effect to process through the body. And if it takes longer than 90 seconds, all that means is that you are looping it with that thought. So let's test drive this for a second and like kind of bring it into real life. Let's give an example. Okay. I'm afraid. Let's see here. Let's just okay, let's do this together. Let's do this together. Think of something that you are afraid of being judged for. Can you do that? Is there something in your life? It could be, oh man, I'm afraid that this opinion. I'm afraid I'll be judged for this opinion. I'm afraid that I'll be judged for moving a certain way in class. I'm afraid I'll be judged if I fart in my yoga class or do a queef, right? Like pull up anything, anything. Because our lives are made of thousands and thousands and thousands of thoughts per day. And each one of those thoughts creates a ripple effect that we call an emotion. Okay. So what is a judgment? What is a judgment? Okay. Pull up the judgment in your mind and just say it as if somebody was saying it to you. Just like blah, like a sentence. And then observe what happens internally. Observe the ripple effect of the pebble of that thought, what it created. What is the emotion that it brought up in you? What is the vibration of that emotion? Now, you could either name the emotion, which I find to be really helpful because then I know when I come back to this emotion, like, oh, this is when I've been working for, straight for like a week or whatever. But sometimes it might not be a clear emotion yet, and that's okay. So if you can even just identify what the wave pattern looks like or feels like to you, what does the ripple effect feel like in your body? Where is it in your body? Okay, I'll say it's in my gut. It's in my gut. Okay. Oh, it's in my shoulders too. Okay, so I'm going to watch the wave form of that ripple effect move. Just be there without looping it with more thoughts. I'm going to observe it. I'm going to breathe through my nose. I'm going to say, I'm having a vibration right now. I'm having an emotion right now. Just like I'm having a bowel movement. It is something that is moving through you, but it is in essence not you. It is moving through you, right? Okay. And then because we don't want to solve the problem of the mind on the level that which it was created, we don't want to just jump into and start like mind fucking this moment, right? We want to alchemize it first. So we're not trying to think about the moment. We're not trying to solve the moment or the thought. We are literally just allowing ourselves to feel. That is it. That is it. You let yourself feel and you breathe. It can be so helpful too to focus on the space between space, between space, between space. That is always there for you. I find that to be incredibly freeing. I find my body just soften into that space. I find my body just lets itself be held in the safety of that space. It's, oh God, it's amazing. And then before you know it, 90 seconds is up. The feeling has been processed. Now, for funsies, let's just because we have the time together, let's say that we are at the spot where we've processed the emotion. Okay. So now we're like, wait a second, let's go back and notice what was I thinking? I was thinking she might not like me. Okay. Now we can do some inquiry. Now we can do some self-investigation. Why do we want to do self-investigation? Because is that a thought that we want to carry around? She might not like me. I'm going to say no. I don't want that thought around. Why? Because a thought like that clips my wings. A thought like that keeps me unoriginal. It keeps me spinning the same stories of my family patterns. The part of my family patterns that I don't prefer. So I want to change it. And I have the power to change it. Our mind is constantly being programmed. The only question is, do you want to program it? Or do you want to allow it to be programmed by the external world? Or do you want to allow it to continue to loop the same patterns that was given to you by your culture and your family of origin? There's literally no wrong answer here. But if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you are developing a more empowered relationship with yourself and your own voice, and you want to program your own mind and download your own belief systems that will serve your heart, the expression of your heart, better. So, that going back to that thought, I'm afraid that she, oh my God, I forget what the thought was. I'm afraid that she isn't going to like me. Was that the thought? I'm afraid she's not going to like me. Okay, going to the thought. Okay, why does it matter if she doesn't like me? Okay, this is where it could be helpful to like play the tape forward. We do this in coaching too. Well, I want her to like me because then it'll be easier for me to like myself. Okay. Why are you choosing not? Wait, is that would that be the question? We could go multiple ways here. What happens when you rely on her liking you as your main source of inspiration? Well, then I basically give my conscious energy to kind of placating to her and trying to be something that I'm actually not. And it uses up all my energy and I get exhausted and I get resentful. Okay, what do you want to do about that? I really, really want to learn to like myself on my own terms. That feels so much more empowering to me. That feels so much more fun. I want to like myself when I'm by myself, and I want to like myself when I'm in a sea of other humans who are being their own human selves. Maybe like any type of human. I want to be able to be around any kind of human expression and value my expression at the same time, whether it's different or the same. I want to like myself. Okay, great. So let's work on that. Let's have that be the program. Okay, so I'm going to pause there, but just to give you kind of like a little idea, a little taste of how we get to really partner with the mind in these moments. This isn't like a punishment. This is like, oh my God, thank you for showing me some interpretations that I had back there in the shadows. It's like there's some dust bunnies in there. I want to clean up those dust bunnies. Um so I I kind of feel like that's where I want to leave it today. It's such a big subject, but I don't want to go off on too many tangents. Let's just leave it there with the recap after I take a sip of water. The recap of, can you let other people judge you? And how it's actually, you're never actually It's never actually for them. It's always for you, just like forgiveness is for you. It's giving yourself the freedom to be your own expression, right? And then when you do meet up against a judgment, either from someone else or from your own internalized programming, you can notice it as this gift of a reflection of like spinach in your teeth, a place where you might want to get a toothpick and just like dig in there a little bit, right? And then doing the practice of the 90-second practice of allowing the vibrational experience, which is the emotion, to ripple through your body, just like you're having a bowel movement, so that when you poop out the other side, you can be like, how did that ripple get there? Right? And you can check out the thought, and then you have the power to transform that thought. And then here's the thing. When you are downloading, I mean, it's okay. When you are downloading a new thought, when you find a new interpretation that you actually want to be practicing, all you got to do is practice it. That's it. Practice saying a thought and an actual interpretation of yourself over and over again. And I know that sounds really simple. There's a lot of other ways to do this too. Like a really fun way to make this transition is in a timeline jump session. A one-to-one timeline jump session, which we can do together if you would like. But really, like, you guys think about how much time you have to practice a thought. So I've had somebody say to me before, like a client said to me before, well, I didn't have time. I was like, well, are you alive? Like, because he was like, well, I've been working a lot. And he had been working a lot. He had been working like 60 hours a week. I was like, well, are you alive? Like, you can practice thoughts while you are at work. You can practice thoughts because you're alive. You are a living conscious being. There's never been this moment in time that has existed before now. You can practice the thought. I practice thoughts. I practice saying them out loud, especially when I'm driving, because then I know where my system is like ready to download a thought. Because like here's a tip. If it feels a little bit weird and a little bit corny, you're on the right track. Because it should feel new and weird and strange, right? So just let yourself stretch a little into a new thought that you actually want to be thinking about yourself. And the key is you got to let your body feel the emotion of it. That's how your brain will believe it and then spit it back to you. Like unconsciously spit it back to you when you want it, like 3 months down the road when you're at that party or you're by yourself on a Thursday night or whatever, right? Okay, I just went off on another tangent, so I'm going to get off the phone. I'm going to get off the podcast now. And if you want to, let's see. So yeah, 2 different ways to work together. And then also there's a free option. If you, this is my gift, my thank you gift to you. If you listen to this podcast and you like it and you find value in it and you feel called to review, my thank you to you is right now, in October of 2023, I'm offering a free 30-minute perspective shift session for anyone who rates and reviews my podcast. From what I understand, these reviews really help the podcast, my podcast, get recognized and get out there more, so that these helpful ideas can spread to more and more people, more and more sensitive people who are working on empowering the fuck out of themselves. So, yeah, that's my thank you gift to you. All this will be in the website that I'll put in the show notes, by the way. Also, if you want to do a timeline jumping session, it's just a single timeline jumping session, which is basically like a sober psychedelic journey of transformation. You can find that information in the link. And then also, if you want something a little deeper and long-term, I offer a 6-week one-to-one coaching journey, and you can find all the details there. And of course, reach out with any questions. And it's been really fun talking to you today. So I'll see you next week. Mwah! Bye for now.